My FIL refused to co-sign on our mortgage and told my husband she needs to learn what struggle really is. I struggled quietly, worked nights, paid it alone. 5 years later, when he lost his retirement to a bad investment, he asked if he could move into the guest house. I told him, "You said I needed struggle. That guest house has rent. Welcome to the lesson." Let me take you back about 6 years. My husband Nate and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful place, mountains, art, decent food scene, but the housing market is rough. We were both working steady jobs back then. Nothing glamorous. I worked full-time as a medical billing assistant. Nate was in landscaping, seasonal most of the year with long gaps in winter. We didn't make a ton of money, but we were careful. No vacations, no new cars, just saving. Every extra dollar went into our house fund. We finally found a small house just outside the city. It wasn't perfect, roof needed patching, kitchen stuck in 1993. But it had charm. It even had a guest house in the back. A one-bedroom cottage with its own entrance. The plan was to rent it out to help cover the mortgage. I was so excited I couldn't sleep, but the mortgage didn't go through. The loan officer said our combined credit wasn't strong enough. Not terrible, just not enough for the kind of loan we needed. He said, "You need a cosigner. Someone solid. Family, ideally." My parents? Not an option. That's another story. So we turned to Nate's dad, Greg. Greg had money. He'd worked for decades at a big insurance company, took an early retirement, and acted like that made him some kind of financial genius. He liked to lecture people about smart money choices while sipping expensive bourbon on his big porch in Boone. Second home. Paid off. BMW parked in the drive. He never liked me. I knew that. He'd never said it out loud, but I felt it. Cold eyes, fake smiles. He once told Nate, at our wedding, that she doesn't seem like a long-term thinker. Still, we asked. We drove 2 hours up the mountain with our paperwork and a homemade pie I baked. Sat in his living room. Nate laid everything out. Showed him the house listing, the loan papers, our income. All we needed was his name. No money, no risk. Greg didn't even glance at the papers. He sipped his bourbon, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "No. She needs to learn what struggle really is. You've both had it too easy. Especially her." He said it like I wasn't even human. I didn't cry. I just sat there, feeling my hands go cold in my lap. Nate looked shocked but said nothing. That's what pissed me off the most. He didn't speak up. Just kind of sat there, staring at the floor. We left. I carried the pie out with me. That night, I didn't talk. I didn't yell. I just stared at the ceiling and thought about every hour I'd worked, every dollar I'd saved, and how fast it had all turned to smoke because of one man's opinion of me. Next morning, I woke up before sunrise and applied for every night shift job I could find. I got one at a gas station on the outskirts of town. Weeknights, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., behind bulletproof glass. Sketchy crowd, but I was safe. Then I picked up weekend gigs cleaning air pumps. On top of that, I kept my job at the clinic. For the next year, I barely slept. Nate kept his landscaping job, but I was the one grinding. I paid our bills. I saved. I filled out forms in the back room of the gas station and scrubbed hair out of drains in rich people's rental homes. Every time I saw a man in loafers, I thought of Greg. By the end of the year, I had enough saved for a new plan. We bought a smaller place. No guest house. No yard. But it was ours. We moved in during a freezing February. I signed the mortgage alone. Nate's credit didn't qualify. I never said a word. Just signed the papers and paid the down payment. I kept working like that for another 2 years. Then something changed. One of the doctors I worked for at the clinic offered to invest in me. He said I was sharp, organized, and reliable. I started a small billing service out of our garage. Within a year, I had more clients than I could handle. I hired help. We fixed up the garage, added heat and Wi-Fi, and made it a full office. Then I bought the lot behind our house. It wasn't much. Overgrown weeds and an old shed. But I cleared it, poured a foundation, and built a little guest house. Paid it off in cash. I made sure it was just the way I wanted. Full kitchen, walk-in shower, little patio. It was meant to be a rental. Another income stream. We didn't hear from Greg for a while. Then last year, everything fell apart for him. He dumped most of his retirement into some big real estate deal in Georgia. A can't-miss opportunity. It tanked. Everything gone. He lost his house, the BMW, the lake cabin, all of it. Nate came home one night, looking pale. He said, "Dad's broke. He's staying in a motel." Asked if he could move into the guest house for a while. I looked him straight in the face and said, "No, Nate didn't fight me." Just nodded. A week later, Greg called me. He said, "I heard you've got a guest house. I was hoping I could stay there for a bit. I'll help around the place. Just need time to figure things out." I said, "It's a rental property. $950 a month. First and last due up front. Utilities not included. No pets. No smoking." He didn't say anything at first. Then he said, "I thought maybe family." I cut him off. "You told me I needed to learn what struggle really is." I did. And I paid for that house and that guest house by myself. If you want to stay there, you'll need to learn the same thing. He didn't say goodbye. Just hung up. Nate told me later that his dad called me vindictive. Maybe I am. But every time I walk past that guest house, lights on, rent paid by someone who respects the space, I feel nothing but calm. About 3 weeks after that call, Nate started acting different. At first, it was little things. Coming home late. Saying he was meeting up with a friend, or just clearing his head. I didn't question it right away. We'd both been through a lot. But something felt off. Cold. Distant. He wasn't touching me like he used to. He wasn't even sleeping in the same bed most nights. Said the couch helped his back. One night, I found his phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter. I didn't go looking. I swear I didn't. But a message popped up. Just a name. Shannon. I tapped it. The messages went back months. She worked at his landscaping company. Younger. No kids. No mortgage. No night shifts at sketchy gas stations. The messages weren't full-blown sexts, but they were close. Late-night chats. Inside jokes. A picture of her in a sundress, nothing too revealing, but intimate in a way that hurt worse than if she'd been naked. I scrolled back. There it was. A message from him to her, just a few weeks ago, the day his dad called me. "She's cold. You were right about her. She's different since she got her money. Acts like she's better than everyone. Even my dad." That one hit like a brick. I didn't confront him right away. I needed to think. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I took a day off. Sat in my office, staring out the window of the guest house, while the current tenant, a traveling nurse named Jasmine, was on shift at the hospital. I thought about how hard I'd worked to build this life. How I'd pulled myself through fire for a man who couldn't even defend me to his father. How I'd turned myself inside out to be someone he'd be proud to come home to, and how he turned around and called me cold to another woman. That night, I made dinner like usual. Sat across from him at the table while he scrolled on his phone. I asked, calm as anything, "So how long have you been talking to Shannon?" He froze. Didn't even look up. "What?" "You heard me." He tried to lie. Then said, "We're just friends." Then, "It's not what it looks like." Then, "You've changed." That's when I lost it. I changed. I slammed my hands on the table. Yeah, I did. I had to. While you were busy whining about your dad and texting your little girlfriend, I was working 3 jobs. I bought this house. I built this life. And you, what the hell did you do, Nate? Besides sit back and wait for me to make everything okay. He just sat there. Didn't say a word. That night, he slept in the guest house. A few days later, I served him papers. No screaming, no broken dishes. Just me in the office, sliding them across the table while he stood there looking like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. "You can keep your clothes and your truck," I said. "But the house is mine." It always was. He didn't fight it. Maybe he was too ashamed. Maybe he knew he didn't have a leg to stand on. The thing is, it didn't end there. 3 weeks after he moved out, I got another call. "Greg." Again. He said, "I heard what happened between you and Nate. I'm sorry things didn't work out." I didn't respond. He kept talking. "I know I wasn't fair to you before. I see that now. But I was wondering, if the guest house is empty, that's when it clicked." He'd planned it. They both had. That guest house? It wasn't about a roof. It was leverage. A way back into comfort. And now that I'd kicked Nate out, Greg saw his opening. But I had a better idea. I didn't say no to Greg. Not right away. I told him I'd think about it, and that I'd call him back in a couple of days. What I really did was reach out to Jasmine, the nurse who was renting the guest house. She was moving out in 2 weeks, contract was ending, and she was headed back to Texas. That gave me just enough time to set something in motion. See, something had started gnawing at me ever since I found out about Nate and Shannon. I couldn't let it sit. I wanted to know the full story. All of it. So I started digging. I didn't have to dig far. Shannon had a public Instagram. That's how I found the photo, her and Nate, standing on the porch of Greg's old house in Boone, smiling with matching mugs in their hands. The post was dated 2 months before Greg lost the property. I zoomed in, recognized the mug. I'd bought it for Nate one Christmas. It had my handwriting on it, his name in Sharpie, sealed with a ceramic glaze. He left it there. With her. That's when I realized this didn't start when Greg asked to move in. It started way before that. Nate had been spending weekends at his dad's house, telling me he was helping him clean up or dealing with legal stuff. He wasn't. He was with Shannon. And Greg knew. Greg helped cover for him. The same man who said I needed to learn how to struggle watched his son cheat on me under his own roof, then months later had the nerve to ask for a free place to live in the house I paid for. I saw red. Not the dramatic kind of red you see in movies. The quiet, sharp kind. The kind that comes with a plan. The day Jasmine moved out, I cleaned the guest house myself. Scrubbed every inch. Made it spotless. Then I posted a listing online. 1 bed/1 bath guest house. Safe, private, recently renovated. Rent negotiable for short-term arrangement. Within a few hours, I had 3 inquiries. But I wasn't looking for just any tenant. I was waiting for one in particular. I called Greg back. "Took me a bit to think it through," I said. "But I might be open to letting you stay. Temporarily." He sounded almost grateful. I could hear the defeat in his voice. That's real kind of you." I wouldn't stay long. Just need a soft landing while I sort some things out. I told him I'd draw up a short-term lease. Just a month. First and last up front. Still $950 a month. Utilities separate. He hesitated but agreed. Said he'd move in that weekend. What he didn't know is I had already accepted another application. A young woman named Abby. Divorced, no kids. Just got a job downtown. She was moving in Monday morning. I let Greg settle in Saturday night. Sunday evening, I knocked on the door with the lease paperwork. Greg answered in sweatpants, holding a takeout container, already comfortable. "Need you to sign these," I said, "before Abby moves in." He looked confused. I smiled. "She's the new tenant. You've got 1 night. I told you it was temporary." He started sputtering. "You said, what do you mean, this isn't fair?" I cut him off. "You want to talk fair?" I stepped into the doorway, looked him dead in the eye. "Fair was when I worked 3 jobs while you told your son I wasn't good enough. Fair was when you watched him lie to me, cheat on me, and still let me walk into your house like a fool." He tried to speak, but I wasn't done. "You wanted to teach me a lesson. You wanted me to struggle. Well, I did. I learned. and I won't let you squat in something I built from scratch. He left that night, took his duffel bag and his pride and drove off in silence. But I wasn't finished yet, because there was still one person left who needed to learn what struggle really was. After Greg drove off, I sat on the porch for a long time, just thinking. The guest house lights were still on. His smell still hung in the air, cheap aftershave, fast food grease. It made my stomach turn. I should have felt proud. I should have felt powerful. But instead, I felt empty. And that's when it hit me. Greg was never the real problem. Not by himself. It was Nate. It had always been Nate. See, you expect the worst from people who don't like you. But it cuts deeper when the person sleeping beside you turns into a stranger. Nate didn't just cheat, he chose to. He watched me fall apart from exhaustion. He knew what his father said to me, and he let it happen. Worse, he agreed with it. I thought about the house. My house. And how he had left his mark on it, just like Greg had tried to. I didn't want ghosts in my walls. I wanted peace. I wanted to breathe. So I did something I hadn't planned. I put the house up for sale. The market in Asheville was hot. I found a buyer in less than 2 weeks. A young couple with a baby on the way. The kind of people I used to be, full of hope, hungry to start over. I packed my things, took the money and bought a small condo in Black Mountain. 1 bedroom, big windows, fresh air. No memories. Just me and quiet. Before I left the house, I wrote one last letter. It wasn't for Greg. It wasn't even for Nate. It was for me. I wrote, I spent years proving I was worthy of a life you both tried to keep from me. I built it. I bled for it. And when you tried to crawl back in, I shut the door. That door is gone now. That house is gone. But I'm still here. And you can't take me down again. I won't let you. I left it taped to the back of the closet door. My little goodbye to the past. A few months later, I heard Nate moved in with Shannon. Word around town was they broke up after he lost his job. Apparently, Greg tried to move in with them. She said no. I guess even she had a line. Last I heard, Greg was sleeping in a trailer out near Canton. Cold winters out there. Me? I'm not rich. I'm not flashy. But I sleep through the night now. I drink coffee in silence. I don't walk on eggshells. Sometimes struggle does teach you something. It taught me never to beg someone to see your worth. And it taught them not to doubt the quiet ones. Because sometimes, the quiet ones are the ones who come back hardest. And when we do, we don't just shut the door. We burn the whole damn porch.